Hello, welcome to Wargamer. I'm your host, Rob, and this video is a speculative and maybe thoughtful look at what might be the greatest release ever to come to Age of Sigmar. Now, people who have been watching those Wargamer for a while, or even for years, may know that my favorite faction in all of Age of Sigmar and the Old World was Chaos Dwarfs. Big, beefy, short, beefy men and ladies, I think, with beards, dedicated to the gods of chaos, with giant war machines and some cow monsters, which we're not really 100% certain how they happened. I don't want to go into the details. Anyway, so pinch of salt with everything I'm about to say, but I reckon we're on to the first hint that Chaos Dwarfs might be being released for Age of Sigmar. I have two large pieces of evidence for this. No large pieces of evidence. Some information as to why we might be seeing this. And if you are excited about the release of Chaos Dwarfs, or potentially Chaos Dwarfs coming to Age of Sigmar, please do let me know, in the comments below and all those other things. Okay, so why do I think Chaos Dwarfs are coming to Age of Sigmar? Number one, because they're cool. I mean, that's just obvious. But I think that I've got more information than that. If you don't know the history of Chaos Dwarfs, very quickly, they're released in 4th edition, and then they were effectively squatted or removed from the game, and then Games Workshop released them in Warhammer Fantasy Battle in a book called Tamrakhan, about a Nurgle demon character, and then Forge World made what we know as the Chaos Dwarfs. They were called Chaos Dwarfs in Warhammer Fantasy Battles. However, when they eventually translated into Age of Sigmar, they got known as the Legion of Asgore. And for about 4 years, they did have rules that you could play in Age of Sigmar. So they were, for a while, relevant. In fact, you can still actually find stories of them in Age of Sigmar 2. In the Age of Sigmar 2 core book, there's a story of dwarfs who use machines and magic for chaos in the realm of death. And as we started to go into Age of Sigmar 3, we know that the Hobgrots that you can find in the Kruleboyz faction got all of their armaments and arms, as did the Kruleboyz, from some Dawi or some dwarfs who were working on these machines and they did trade with. So all of these horrible weapons and these pretty solid pieces of armor were produced by a dwarven army, and they weren't obviously produced by the Warriors of Order. Pretty interesting, okay? So they're narratively been continuously kept in the setting. They haven't just been removed from the setting, and their existence has grown. Okay, so what is my evidence that the Chaos Dwarfs are going to be released? Okay, First one is that they are not in the Old World. If you're an Age of Sigmar fan and you haven't been keeping up with the Old World has got two types of armies that exist. They have what they call the core factions, and then they have what they call legacy factions. Those legacy factions are not officially supported by the game. They have got rules that you're able to play in the game, and some of them are very weird choices. A good example, obviously, in my personal opinion, would be the Vampire Counts. Vampire Counts is an incredible, or Skaven. Skaven's probably the most relevant one. We'll do Skaven instead. Skaven is an iconic Warhammer Fantasy Battle army. They're intrinsic in most of the storyline. Maybe Vampire Counts are more intrinsic, which is why I went to them first. But they're intrinsic in the storyline. And they're not a core faction. The reason that we know that they're not a core faction is because they're being released in Age of Sigmar. Age of Sigmar, as we know, 4th edition, is going to be Skaven, and it's going to be Stormcast Eternals. And the two studios, Specialist Design Studio and also Games Workshop main Citadel Studio, are at loggerheads. They do not want you to buy Skaven models from Age of Sigmar and use them in Warhammer, in the Old World. That is a fight that's been going on between the two for a long time. With that said, we can start to work out that we're going to see Skaven. We've seen no Skaven in the Old World, which means Chaos Dwarfs, who also have an army book in Old World, but are not in mainline Age of Sigmar, could potentially be getting an Age of Sigmar release. So because they're not a core army in the Old World, I think you're going to see them get an updated army or new army in Age of Sigmar. That's the current rumor, and I think that's a really good and solid kind of interpretation of why some of the armies, because there really is no reason to make legacy armies in the old world other than this. It does also point to a couple of other things, like, as we've talked about, Beasts of Chaos are a main army in the old world, and therefore that's one of the reasons I think people are rumoring that they're going to leave Age of Sigmar. We'll know more about that in a couple of months. You know, I obviously don't hope that people who love Beasts of Chaos get to play Beasts of Chaos in Age of Sigmar, but I think we're going to be looking at that. Bone Splitters also, all of their models are most likely going over to the old world. So that's my first piece of evidence. However, this is still just working some stuff out. The spicy bit of news is what happened a few days ago. A few days ago, a company called Lost Kingdom Miniatures, you can see them here, who make a bunch of STLs that you can print and download, got a cease and desist. However, they didn't get a cease and desist for all of their products. This wasn't, and as you can see, some of them are clearly very Age of Sigmar inspired. As you can see, these look like what is Croxagore or Saurus riding Saurus. You can see, I'll just open this up here so you can see. So you can see that these are all quite obviously models that you could use in Age of Sigmar or Warhammer Fantasy Battle. Here's a good example, and here's another one. However, as you can see, these are still on the website. Even though a Saurus riding a dinosaur is very Age of Sigmar as a model, like that makes a lot of sense. These Croxagore also make loads of sense, exactly as you would expect. When we start to look at the rest of the web store and when we look at the cease and desist, their Magmasmith range has been much reduced. So if we just go over and look at the different stores that they've got, they have the Infernal Dwarfs here. Now, previous to this, they had a lot more miniatures in this range. However, several of them, specifically, this is important, it's a big monster, the Bale Taurus, and the other big monster, I forget its name right now, the Bale Taurus, have been cease and desisted. You cannot have these up because these are ours. But why? They do not sell a Bale Taurus right now. Lamassu is the other one that I was trying to talk about. They don't sell a Lamassu. Games Workshop don't sell a Lamassu. They don't sell a Bale Taurus. They sell neither. They don't sell it from mainline. They don't sell it in the main studio. So why would you send a cease and desist for only certain parts of what seems to be a Chaos range? Here you can see like what is effectively a Hell Cannon or a Skullcracker, a Chaos Dwarf doing magic. Why would it specifically be a Lamassu? And why would it specifically be a Bale Taurus? And I think the simple answer is because that's what Games Workshop are going to release for the Chaos Dwarfs in Age of Sigmar. Now that might seem to be trying to like grasp at straws, but I don't really know what else there is. To point towards. These clues will be pointing towards. Why wouldn't you take down, why wouldn't you send a cease and desist for things like what is clearly a Bretonnian army? Here you can see another 3D sculpt of what, is a knight, a French knight with a flag, these sorts of things. Why wouldn't that be done? I don't know. It makes no sense, other than the Chaos Dwarf conspiracy continues. And maybe a lot of this is just hope and hype from me. It could be fair to say that most of this is hope and hype from me. But this is a little bit of, a hope and a guess. And we'll see if it ends up panning out. And I guess I really want to ask all of you, if any of you see any interesting rumors or ideas, if you're reading through any faction books for Age of Sigmar right now, and they mention the Chaos Dwarfs, I'd love you to leave them in the comments below. Any confirmation of their existence as we start the hashtag Chaos Dwarf hype train coming to 2026. Who knows? But I'd be interested to see what you all think. I've been having a good chat with the chat about it. But I think we could see Chaos Dwarfs sometime in the next year or two. And they have sent cease and desist before for other miniature ranges, but never just a single set of models or a couple of models cherry-picked out of a range. And sorry, cease and desist would be like lawyers sending a letter saying, hey, can you take these down? Otherwise, we're going to proceed with more aggressive action. At this point, Lost Kingdom, there is a statement as well that they've put out there, and I'll try and find a link to it and include it in the notes below. They've said, we've been sent a cease and desist for these particular products, so we've decided on the safe side to remove those products from our range, which is pretty spicy. So I don't know what you all think. I just know I'm hopeful. Let me know. #HerShut coming soon, and we'll see what you all think.